Hey, what's up everyone? It's Dave. I'm back on the 2010 Q5 and I'm having some issues with the door actuator. Anytime I go to use the actuator to lock the car, it locks. When I go to unlock it, it doesn't do anything. I can hear all the other doors clicking, but this one doesn't. So I've got a problem with the actuator. Let's dig in and see what we can figure out. Okay, so the door actuator lives right here, and so first thing we got to do is get this door panel, door card, wherever you want to call it, off. And there's 4 screws that hold this in. 2 of them are under this cover, so we got to pull this trim cover off first. Alright, so this is snapped in by some snaps and some hooks, and we want to start on this outside end and kind of pry it up with something gentle and soft without doing any damage. My experience with Audi stuff, it's pretty strong and durable. So we've got these little tabs here that lock into here, and you just pry them out, and then these hooks go through these holes here. So pop it out and kind of come out like that. Okay, once you get that panel off, you've got 4 screws holding this in. 1, 2. There's another one under the armrest, and then a 4th one at the bottom. So the bottom of the door, under the armrest, and 2 under that cover I just popped off. Alright, these fasteners are a T25 Torx, and 4. Okay, now we got several clips in here where this door panel will just pull off. Again, I'm going to use some plastic tools so that I don't damage anything. Once I get this off, you'll see. Next thing, I'm going to unlock the cable. Like that. Got an electrical connector to the speaker. And then another electrical connector here. It's got a red locking tab. Now the whole panel comes off. Okay, again, here's where the actuator lives, and we're going to gain access to it through this panel. So I want to pull this panel off somehow. Easy enough. Okay, it's tough to get the camera in there, but the actuator's here. It's going to come out with a couple fasteners here, but in its way from getting it out, there's another plastic piece that has to be taken out by these 2 fasteners. These are 2 what are these? T20s. So we take these 2 fasteners out. Alright, now to get this actuator out, you might want to look and check ahead of time that you have some 4 square tools. And I recommend that if you have an Audi, you should have a complete set of 4 square tools, because you never know when you're going to run across these things. The bit looks like this. And without these correct tools, you're never going to, or you're going to damage these things. But with the right tool bit, give it a little more power. 1, 2. Alright, so I can't get the camera in here and show you while I'm disconnecting this thing, but it's got a connector. 1 connector with this type of a clip on it. You push that in, and then it's got 2 cables, and these cables work. They've got like 2 flat spots here that will set into a groove like that, and then you give it a 1/4 turn and it locks in place. To get it out, just give it a 1/4 turn and it will slide out like that. So that's how that works. And then the other end just fits into a slot like that. Okay, so here's the door lock actuator. This is the part in question. What you can do is just buy a whole new assembly like this and just reinstall the brand new one in the car and you will be back in business. But if you subscribe to my channel and you've watched any of my videos, I would rather fix a bad part than just simply replace it. Plus this thing looks like it probably cost a little bit of money. So there's an electric motor in here that operates it. This is kind of intermittent, so I know it's not a hard fail. It hasn't just stopped working and will never work again. It kind of works on and works off. And my experience tells me that there's probably some kind of an electrical connection, maybe by the motor, that's getting dirty. So it looks like this is the shape of a motor here. I think the motor's probably under here. And so what I want to do is separate the gray part from the white part. And to do that, I need to remove this black section first. So let me see if I can remove this black part and just be left with a white and gray assembly. Alright, so to remove this black piece, I can see clearly this has to come off. I'll take that screw out. Looks like perhaps 2 screws back here should come out. Oh, there's a blue dot on them. Maybe that blue dot has something to identify. So that screw, that screw. There's another screw here with some blue paint on it. And these are all identical screws, so I don't have to identify where they came from. Alright. This is coming apart. You can watch with me if you see something fly out. Hopefully we can figure out where it came from. I hear like a micro switch. This gray cover, I don't see any other fasteners holding this gray cover on. Maybe if I take this gray cover off, it'll expose the fastener. Oh boy. Hey, we got some stuff in here. We definitely have some stuff in here. Alright, let's see what we can do here. Okay, it looks like this plastic piece here is over top of this plastic piece, and when I try to separate the two, there's also a spring right here. Now it looks like I've got this green part here that's attached to both this black housing and the white housing. And this arm right here is also attached to both sides. Alright, what I'm going to try to do, since I've got this black section loose and moving around, gives me access to the 2 screws that I could not get to when it was tight. I'm going to try and see, without removing or without separating this black assembly part from the plastic housing, if I might be able to get at all the screws. Maybe, maybe not. But let's see. The biggest hidden one is right in there. If I can get in here, alright, I'm just going to leave it. It's completely out. It won't fall out. I'll leave it. And now all the rest of these I can get to. Let's take them all out and see what that gives us. And then one final screw. It looks like a motor would be right here, and the motor is what I want to kind of get to. Okay, there's a rubber seal. Uh-oh, something came apart now. Okay, so what I can see is this little nub right here snaps into this little hole right here. So, nothing flew out, which is good. Let me try to separate this now. There's a rubber gasket. It's been in there for 13 or 10 years, 12 years, whatever. Turn up this gasket. Just a shake. One up there. This thing's breaking gently with it. Yeah, it's dirty. Yeah, that's true. Almost gone. Okay. All right, this is the motor that I'm looking for. Here's the gasket. Fit it back in the channel everywhere. Beautiful. All right. So this is what I'm looking for right here. This is what I've opened this thing up for. The motor's here. It's got a couple of female contacts that made up with this inside cover that has these two male contacts. And can you see this contact here? It's kind of dirty. So I think the contacts of these male tabs and these female receivers need to be cleaned up. Especially this one. This one looks like it's... This one looks dirty to me. So I'll clean those up. And then let's get this motor out. And then looking at this motor, I mean, once you get to this point, if you had just a new motor to put in, that would work as well. I see some black soot here. You blow this off with some compressed air. So I think what I want to do here now is delve into this motor. We've come all this way. I just see black soot. I don't know if there are like brushes, little tiny brushes in here like a typical motor would have that get dirty. But I would like to pop this cap off. I'd like to pop this plastic cap off of this motor housing. So let me see if I can figure out how to do that. This is not meant to be serviced. These typically you just replace them, but I don't have one. And I want to investigate and see what I find in here. If I can separate these two and find a bunch of dirty contacts that I can clean up, then I will just clean them and then reassemble everything. So let me figure out how to open up this motor. Alright, so here's what I got to work with. Again, these motors are not made to be serviced, and this plastic cap is set in place, and then these two metal tabs are bent over, keeping this plastic end in place. So if I could figure out a way to bend those tabs straight again, and then I can pull this cap off and take a look inside. So I've taken this awl and just grinded the tip of it to kind of make this shape. And so with this shape, now I can slide this in like this, and I get a bite on that metal tab, and maybe I can bend it straight on both sides, slide this in here, bend the tab straight, and then pull this cap off. Let me try that. Alright, so I was able to straighten those tabs out a bit. Let me see if I can just slide this cap off and take a peek inside. There it goes. Alright, here we are. Yep, your typical motor. Those contacts right there are filthy, dirty. And the brushes are probably dirty as well. So I'm going to clean up this rotor. Uh-oh. A little microscopic washer fell off. Plastic washer. And put that right back on like that. And now with some emery cloth, I'm going to grab some emery cloth, pinch it on there, spin this thing, and get these contacts nice and clean. But those contacts are dirty. And I think that's why this motor is intermittently working. It just turns in one direction to lock and the other direction to unlock. And like I said, it was intermittent. And I think maybe just slamming the door open and closed once jarred this to the point where it would start to work again. And if I look in here, there's also a plastic washer. Got to make sure that that gets back into place. Alright, so I've got some 1500 grit paper here. I'm going to take this plastic washer off. And put that back on when I'm done. But I'm just going to wrap this paper around this rotor shaft and then spin it while I'm pinching it. Better. Find a fresh, clean place. Try to stay in the camera. I'm really concentrating on what I'm doing here. I'm not really looking at the camera. You can see that, hopefully. That's much cleaner. And one more time. That's a dramatic improvement as to what it was. So, my plastic washer. Oh my God. I hit it with this thing and flew, but I found it. Okay, there's my plastic washer, and that's where it went. And so I'd like to clean these brushes up as well. Trying to think of a good way to do that. Maybe just scratching them up a little bit. I got an idea. Here, I've got this little rat tail file. Let me see if I can just put this in the middle there and spin it a little bit, or drag it up and down. Alright, I think I got a little bit of friction and some scrubbing there. So now I got to get my metal washer down the bottom and the plastic washer on the top. Like that. So this goes together like this. Sorry, there it is, slid back into place. I can see the washers are in position. This thing's back into place. I like to be able to bend these tabs down a little bit, perhaps. But to be honest, I don't know how important that is, and I don't want to damage it. I'm betting that that's what the problem is with this thing. That, and I'm going to clean up the contacts in here, right there, with my emery cloth. Let me pan back a little bit for you. Alright, clean that up a bit. Now I'm going to snap this back in place. Like so. And now if I can get this whole thing back together again, I will plug it into the car before I install it. Plug it into the car and then hit the locks and see if it actually does anything. I could probably do that right now, but I don't want that motor to activate and things come flying out everywhere. Alright, so this is going to go here, and then at some point this is going to go together, and this orange shaft is going to go inside this orange part in here as well. And then this little plastic blue nub is going to snap in to a piece over on this side. So first things first, let me so the gasket is all in place here, everywhere. So let me put this in place. Okay, it snaps together nicely. Let me put one screw in here. I'll just put one in case I have to take it back apart again. And now, the nerve-wracking part. Let's figure out how this actually works. If I hold it this way,
And again, it's this little opening right here in this part. Right here, that opening is where this blue knob has to snap into. And if I can get this thing to snap into that hole, it could be out of the woods. I'm going to just try to get it in place and then I'll show it to you once it's in place. Alright, so this is me.
Okay, so I got this thing together. Here is the arm. Here's the arm in question that had to be snapped onto the bottom of this blue part, little blue locking nub. So this arm, I've got it locked onto there. Got the spring back on. And I can test it by locking the door. So I lock the door, and here's the unlock. Alright, so the door locks all the way, and then the unlock, and it works. And then if I lock the door manually and then close it, it doesn't unlock. So that's locked. When I manually unlock it, it works. So I know that's good. This here is the interior door handle, I think. So let me try that. I'll lock that. And then I move the inside door handle and it unlocks. The inside door handle and it unlocks. Now I'm going to lock it manually, close the door, and the inside handle should still unlock it. And it does. So mechanically, this thing is working. We've got it all back together again. Everything seems to be working. So now I'm going to put all the screws back in it, put this cover back on it. I'm going to bring it over to the car, plug it in, and let's see what it does then. But it's hard. I can't show you what I'm doing while I'm doing it because I can barely see what I'm doing while I'm doing it. The camera will never catch it, but that's what it looks like. And when it comes apart, when you take it apart, everything doesn't go flying. You can actually see how things go back together again. Alright, so I mechanically tested this thing by locking it, unlocking it, moving all the levers. Everything seemed to work properly. Now I'm going to plug it in. And now with the remote, I'm going to lock and unlock the doors. Lock. Unlock. Okay, I can feel this thing is working. It's clicking like all the other doors are clicking. This thing is actually working. Okay, so it is working. Let's get it back in the car and then we should be in business. Alright, I didn't notice any beeping when I locked and unlocked the car. I think it's because this door is open. So let me close it. Okay, I heard a chirp there. Unlock. Lock. Chirp. Okay. This door was open. It won't chirp until you finally close all the doors. And there's the chirp. Okay. Perfect. Alright, so I got the connector on, I got the 2 cables on, I've got the lock mechanism in place. And before I put everything back together again, I want to test it. So I close the door, I open it from the inside, close the door, I've opened it from the outside, it works. I tried the child safety, turn that on, and it will not open from the inside. I unlock the child safety and it works. So everything mechanically is working and electronically it's working. So now I can confidently put the door card back on. Don't forget to take my light out. Before I put the panel back on, I'll make sure to get everything back in place. Like that. So let me get the cable hooked up first. Oh, and you got a connector for all the electronics. Goes there. We got another connector for the speaker as well. So let's get this cable on. Okay, before I put that last piece of trim on, let's just check the door, make sure it's functioning. I mean, come on, listen to that door. That's awesome. Lock it. Locked. Unlock it. It's unlocked. Lock. Chirp. Unlock. That door sounds awesome. Alright, I'm just going to pop in this last piece of trim on the door panel. Okay, last piece of trim on the door panel. That's it. All done. Alright, so there you have it. An intermittent door locking actuator. I suppose you could just order the entire assembly and replace it. You know, if you watch my videos, you know I don't like to do that. I like to dig in there and see if I can figure out what's going on with it. If I can fix it for free, I'm all for that. And that's what I actually did with this. The motor was the actual problem, and you know, inside the motor the brushes were dirty and filthy, and sometimes they would work, sometimes they wouldn't, and if you slam the door enough times it might work for a while, and then if it stopped in a really dirty spot then it probably did not work. Now it is working. Working fine. So I don't know what an actuator costs, probably several $100 knowing Audi. You could get a used one on eBay, but a used one might not be much better than the one that's in your car. So I was able to fix that thing for free, which was always good. So I hope you enjoyed that. If so, please consider subscribing to the channel. And until next time, thanks for watching.